the EU is not a fan of in-game currency. They really don't like it. So, the way a lot of games do in-game monetization, like League of Legends, it's gonna be a problem for them. We might finally have to not be buying packs of tokens for any fucking gacha game like this. Yeah, she was in Tanya as well. So, League's monetization is in trouble. Don't care about League itself, but I do care about what this means for every other game that uses the exact same fucking system.
The day I decided to talk about stuff regarding League of Legends, I did not realize I would be diving into legal stuff.
We love EU legal stuff.
In case you missed it, a few days ago...
I want male voice actors like Tagido closer at the top of the list.
The European Union made a move on the predatory practices in gaming.
How's the audio?
The thing is that they are finally focusing on something that has been part of the entire microtransaction system from day one. And that's
using currencies to buy currencies to buy currencies to buy tokens that transfer into tickets, which transfer into gacha characters.
The day microtransactions were born, they were led by people who knew how to milk people's wallets. I mean...
arguably, MapleStory would be early. Like, you could say it's earlier than that for microtransactions, but sure.
Why else would we replace the name expansion packs with DLCs?
Yeah.
And of course, here, we are specifically gonna talk about the use of premium currencies. Now, what is surprising
V-Bucks.
is that most people don't realize that premium currencies are a really bad thing. And because
because they always the problem with them. Okay, there's two problems with them. One of them is oftentimes they are used to hide the actual value of something. So you're not spending dollars, you're spending V-Bucks. You're not spending dollars, you're spending Chrono token. No. Chrono tokens are the purple ones. Whatever the gold tokens in Marvel Rivals are, you're not spending dollars, you're spending fucking magic money. The other problem is oftentimes they are not that you don't have a... You can't buy things that are actually of equal value to the things in the game. So there might be a thing that is 1,500 tokens, but you can buy something that's 800, or you can buy something that's 1,500. So you've got to buy an uneven amount, so you always have extra tokens left over. And since you have extra tokens left over, well, the next time there's something in the store you might want, well, I already have some tokens, I might as well buy more and buy this thing. If it went down to 0, you'd be less encouraged to buy something.
Who don't know about this, it kind of proves why they exist. Simply said, the real reason why premium currencies exist is because people have an idea of how much things should cost in their own native currency. But if I see something available for Robux, I have no idea how much that is. So one purpose of the premium currencies is hiding real value.
Very true.
On top of this, when you buy the premium currencies, you either buy a small bundle that doesn't give you enough currency to buy something.
And they always like to do things like 800% value. It's like, oh, if you spend more money on tokens for things the tokens you're actually not going to use, will you get more tokens? And there's always these weird divisions as well, where it's not like you spend $1 and you get 100 tokens. Like, that would make sense as a conversion. It's always like you spend $1, you get 165. So you can't easily make that conversion in your head.
Which means you have to buy more, or the bundle gives you way too much. And now the next time you want to buy something, you already have some of the leftover currency.
Yep.
So now you only have to buy the smaller pack.
Literally, fucking pre-watched.
So you buy again. Which is when you may think, sure, these are pretty bad cases, so surely there has to be some kind of a catch, right?
No.
There has to be something positive to premium currencies. Well,
yes, there is something positive. You make the shareholders more money. It's not positive for you, but it is positive.
The thing is, nope, The only reason premium currencies exist is because they make more money. There is literally no other use for them. You could argue that premium currencies work for brand building. I mean, look at the famous V-Bucks, or Primo Gems, or the Riot Points. So there could be an argument made there.
That's stupid.
However, that would only be true if the companies also didn't pull off their shenanigans with the bundles. Regardless, this has been the case with premium currency.
Ironically, the non-scummy way was figured out in like 2008. You just have a conversion rate like any other currency. Basically, every online game back then did it. But what you do is you just have the actual price of the item in the store. So if it costs $5, it costs $5. It just says $5 on it. That's the actual non-scummy way.
Since the early days. And surprisingly, this doesn't mean the infamous horse armor. While that is considered one of the first proper microtransactions, that one was just bought for good old $2.50. No, instead, we are talking about early EA stuff.
Okay.
Does anyone remember BioWare points? Does anyone remember having to buy a premium currency to buy a Mass Effect DLC? While all other games...
Oh, that's actually... You know what another one that did this was? Xbox Live. Xbox Live had this, where you bought, what were they called? Was it called, like, Xbox token? Or Xbox points? What was it? I didn't have a 360. I don't remember what they were called.
Just sold you normal expansion packs for normal money because you're a normal person. Well, EA may not have been the first one who invented this use of premium currencies, but they surely were one of the first ones to heavily profit from it. They were ahead of the curve, and because it worked so well, these days simply everyone uses it. Well, fast forward 10 years, and after way too many people got too many cases of getting scammed by video games, which technically they are not getting scammed.
Oh, and these are also fun. Like, the bundles make it even more confusing. It's like, well, okay, which one of these bundles actually is the best value? The best value is don't fucking spend it because you're getting scammed. That's the best value.
They are just getting baited into paying more. And after many boycotts that happened from gamers, which means they did not succeed because they were done by gamers.
No, you know what? Very successful boycott. 0 upvotes. Super successful boycott.
That happened from gamers, which means they did not succeed because they were done by gamers. The European Union realized, hey, those are some pretty bad practices. And just like other forms of gambling, lotteries, and addictive practices, premium currencies and microtransactions should be regulated.
Do you know why casinos use chips instead of dollars? It's the same reason. Now, the argument is, well, it's easier to carry chips if you want to put down $10,000. It's also easy to put down a chip for $10,000 without thinking, oh, it's a chip for $10,000. It's the exact same reason.
Otherwise, things will keep getting worse, which is exactly what's been happening over the last 5 years. And so the European Union gave us this. Commission and national authorities take action to protect children from harmful practices in video games.
EU regulations always have the most fucking overly wordy names.
Specifically, this is an action against a game called Star Stable Online, which...
Okay, I guess the horse girl game is gonna be what we go after, sure.
Which apparently was really good at sucking money out of parents. However, even though this is focusing on this specific game, this enforcing of action will also affect everyone else. Because if other companies ignore what happened here, well, they might get the same strike later too.
Now, horse girl game. Horse girl game is what is causing EU regulation.
The summary that circled the internet is honestly a pretty bad summary. Especially if you move around video games and you know what's going on, this one is not really for you. For the most part, it is focusing on the advertising to children in video games. Because throughout gaming history, there have been many cases of children bankrupting their parents in video games. However, overall, everything is also aimed at protecting adults. So first, here it mentions that you are not allowed to advertise.
Fun fact, for his role as Dio, he voiced a character who used every single tarot card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Masters GX. This game is horrible anti-consumer scams you, best-selling game of the year. Diablo 3 was the best-selling Diablo game until Diablo 4, which is even worse.
Advertise to children specifically, which also means you can't urge them to quickly buy something for the game, which is where we can mention that this is not preventing from the game saying, hey, if you want the premium skin, you better pay up.
Oh, God.
It's more along the lines of showing that if you don't buy a boost or something really bad will happen to a character.
God.
Maybe they will leave or they will get hurt or something like that. Yep, there are games who actually urge children to buy something quickly to help the character. And you can find entire
That's not manipulative at all. No, this wouldn't be like, imagine, right? Let's put it in boomer terms. Imagine if you didn't insert your credit card, your Tamagotchi would just die. Like, that's what this is.
Articles about this back in 2018. Next, the games are not allowed to bait people with limited time purchases. Now, as far as I know, this is not talking about something like limited skins that are up during an event or something like that. Those should be fine. This is more focusing on those flash sales that happen.
Yeah, it's like, hey, buy now, 800% value. It's that sort of deal.
In some games, where you can see something on sale, but it is only up for you for like an hour, and you quickly have to buy it, and no one else can see it. I'm looking at you, Warcraft Rumble. The problem there is that these sales are specifically up only for the people who are more likely to buy. But then it mentions that there shouldn't be purchases hidden behind small purchases. I'm not exactly sure what kind of a game would do something like that, a Star Stable Online. I assume it is something like, hey, you buy like a small horse, but in order for the small horse to run or something, you have to buy a big stable later. I don't know, I'm making this up. And lastly, it also mentions that if an influencer is talking about a video game, they should also mention the monetization. To be fair, this should have been a thing from the very beginning. Back in the day, I've made a Hoyoverse video or two. And yes, I still made jokes about the gacha machine. But here's the thing, after reading this, none of this really sounds that bad, right? It's not like any of this is actually gonna affect any of the big video game corporations, right?
No,
well, that's because this summary is mostly aimed at the European parents, I guess. It is supposed to tell them, hey, we are protecting you and your children. However, should we dive into the other documents that go into more details, we may realize that this also affects someone like Riot Games. And let me tell you, that other document is a whole another beast. One that might actually improve monetizations in gaming.
Wow.
So here, the network's key principles on in-game virtual currencies is an 8-page long document, which is not that big, which is why at the very beginning...
actually, to be fair, with European documents, that's not that crazy. Some of them get to like 50 fucking pages long.
They mentioned that this is not an exhaustive list of all the bad things companies are doing. So if you start doing something bad now...
8 pages, not the exhaustive list. Yeah.
Run. But immediately at the beginning, we have an interesting line. After talking about what virtual currencies are, they mention this. The CPC network considers in-game virtual currencies as digital representations of real-world monetary value when they serve no purpose other than, or for which other functions are secondary to providing for a method of payment, the purchase of digital content or services in video games. In other words, this is mainly focusing on games that simply have their own V-Bucks or Riot points. In theory, something like
or a game that I played a lot of. Path of Exile. Literally everybody does it. Everybody does it. Now, at least their packs are like normal sizes, but the things on the shop don't align with them. So that's fun. Like, you can make the conversion in your head easily, but the things on the shop don't align with this. You might have something that's like 45 points or 95 points. So, you know, everybody does it.
Gold in World of Warcraft is fine.
Imagine
because
buying
even though
gold
you
in a video
can
game.
buy gold with real money, gold isn't exclusively used to buy things you would have normally just paid real money for. There, gold is part of gameplay. However, later you will see that even this might have to do some things. Because at any point, if you pay real money for currencies, there is a funny thing every video game will have to do. And yes, this also relates to stuff like Primo Gems. Because even though Primo Gems in Genshin can be earned for free, the moment you pay for them with real money, stuff will be applied. The more interesting thing for us is that, yes, in some cases, Riot is screwed. And you will see that it's all in benefit of us, players. Mainly if you hate something like the Ancient Sparks, you might have a laugh. So next, the document dives into unfair commercial practices, which includes exploiting cognitive biases. In other
ReZero Season 4 already has a trailer? Really? Wow, that was quick.
The games bait you into paying. And here, according to the first principle, whenever a game has premium currencies, they are allowed to have it. So no, Riot points are not going away. But
sadly,
when you are spending it, you also have to show the players the real money value. This is cool, because if you go to the skins found in League, besides the 1350 RP price, they will also have to show you that this is $12. To anyone with self-control when it comes
okay. That's actually a good change.
To buying stuff, this won't do much. But you would be surprised how much people are willing to pay when they don't know how much they are really paying. Next, the document mentions that this price should be shown even when you are converting one currency.
They should add a stipulation that says the real money value should be displayed prominently.
Into another one. Specifically, we could mention something like buying Mythic Essence with Riot points, both of which are technically premium currencies, but they will still have to show you theoretically how much one Mythic Essence is now. And lastly, the prices shown have to be the base price points. If there are bundles that give you like 30% extra currency, those don't count. We're talking about the raw value. And yes, the document also mentions that earning these currencies through gameplay doesn't count. Meaning you still have to show the full price regardless of what's really happening with the currency. So yes, even the glorious Primo Gems are getting screwed. Which also includes the situations when you're buying gold in something like WoW. Anyway, next, the second principle dives into multiple premium currencies, which might impact Riot too. Because first, it mentions that games should avoid offering for purchase and mixing different in-game virtual currencies in one video game for purchasing in-game digital content or services. This means that if a game has multiple
So no buying digital currencies to buy, or no spending real money on digital currencies to buy more digital currencies, I guess.
Kinds of premium currencies, they have to merge them all into one. In theory, this means that Ancient Sparks are gone, Mythic Essence might be in danger, and TFT's currencies are getting screwed too. These should all fall under the premium currencies category together with Riot points. So in the future, it is possible that you will not be able to buy Ancient Sparks for Riot points, and instead you just spend your Riot points with the real money value.
Okay, so in League, if I understand it correctly, you can buy Riot points, which can then buy Ancient Sparks, but you could buy Ancient Sparks directly, I guess? Or maybe not. Like, it's like obfuscated layers of currency.
As you roll on the gacha machine. After which there is principle number 3, which might be the biggest one. This might actually change the pricing. Because it mentions that games should avoid offering in-game virtual currencies only in bundles, mismatching the value of purchasable in-game digital content and services. And
this is a real big one. They love to make it so you can't buy exact bundles. Yes, this is actually a good change.
And denying customers the possibility to choose the specific amount of in-game virtual currency to be purchased.
It says practices to avoid, not practices that are not allowed. if they should be avoided, they're still gonna do it.
In other words, you are not allowed to sell bundles that don't match the price of in-game items. Which means, you know how in League you go into the store and you have a look at those 1350 RP skins? So then you decide to buy some RP and you realize, oh no, 10 bucks don't give me enough and 20 bucks give me way too much. Ah, what a shame. Well now, Riot will just have to sell you the skin for 12 bucks. And that's it. Thank God. This was the most used predatory practice by far. And if this is enforced, the players will greatly benefit from this. Anyway,
look, even if they make the skins more expensive, that's fine. Make them more expensive. But they should be clear what you're buying.
4 is all about information. It's just telling you that you're supposed to tell people what you're buying, what it does, what are the features, and surely there are...
Imagine that! Imagine you're required to tell people what they're buying and what it does. Fucking incredible. What a revolutionary idea that is.
That would be like hiding that kind of information, right?
No, they'd never do that.
Principle 5 is all about withdrawal. Funnily enough, this means that you now have the classic 14 days for a refund. But it also mentions that the game can just tell you, hey, if you buy this, there will be no refunds, and that's it. Principle 6 is all about not using weird words which might scare people. For example, you can't tell people that, hey, if you buy this item, the EU laws don't apply, because that's not how law works. What's interesting is that as part of this, companies are also not allowed to modify the value of the currencies, which means they can't legally take away your riot points if you get banned. But at the same time, modifying is also giving you RP for free, so maybe they can't give you RP anymore for sending them pictures. So maybe drawings for RP are gone. And lastly, Principle 7 is about protecting vulnerable customers.
I don't know if that would be what that is. Because that wouldn't be modifying the value of it, that would be providing you more. That doesn't seem to make any sense.
Meaning that games shouldn't be designed with the idea of exploiting players for money.
Wow.
This could actually change the gaming industry, if this worked. Also, when designing monetization,
if it's enforced,
you are not allowed to target specific demographic. This is mostly a gray area, because no one can prove that, but I think it's mostly aiming at not advertising for children.
Sure.
Games should also not hide real money purchases behind just normal gameplay purchases. I guess there are games where a game will offer you something in a shop for like gold or something, but then you click it and you buy it for real money. I don't know if it happens. There is a whole separate point just to make sure that you do not advertise to children, damn it. Games should also have
Warframe you can buy with in-game currency, or you can buy with premium currency. And you like have an option there. So it might be that? I don't know.
Functional parent control if it is a game for kids. And if it is on a console that has something like this, it should use the native system. For example, Switch has its own parent control. And lastly, they should avoid preying on vulnerable customers by making them pay excessive amounts of money. Now, this one might be the most vague line there is. It's basically a backdoor for the situations where some companies are doing something really bad, but right now we are not sure what that bad thing might be. Because in theory, gacha games should fall under excessive amounts of money. But the thing is that gacha games have a theoretical cap on how much you want to spend on a game. Because sure, it will cost you like $5,000 to cap off a character in Genshin, but in theory...
Imagine being a Genshin player, or a fucking... Any of these, like, Star Rail or anything like that. Imagine actually, this is your main game. What a fucking life you have.
Don't pay more than that because you already have them maxed out. There are some other games, such as Lost Ark, that don't have this. There you pay to upgrade items which only have a chance of upgrading. So theoretically, you can just keep paying more and more. Though I think they later implemented some kind of a cap on how much players can actually spend in the game per day. And yes, in theory, Genshin...
Imagine that even needed to be a concern. Oh, players are spending too much money per day. We don't want regulators to come after us. Oh my god.
Genshin also has something like that, where you can just keep paying for rolling on like artifacts and stuff, so I think no one is safe. But that is kinda it. Overall, this is a pretty good move from the EU, although it might also be a bit vague. The most important thing here is the bundles.
Yes.
Everything else is mostly a gray area on purpose. It is mostly aimed at the games that are really focusing on bankrupting people on purpose. And so, after this was released, and after Star Stable Online was given 1 month to remove their predatory practices, will anything change? Well, nope. I am pretty sure nothing will happen until one big corporation gets hit. Because in theory, there is enough gray area where...
So I kind of want is for Valve to copy the EU whenever they put out rules like this, maybe put out a slightly different rule for each. Okay, that would be interesting, because there are a lot of these games that are actually coming to Steam as well. They're recasting VAs that are on strike over AI protection because Ho refuses to just sign a waiver saying that we won't use AI for
or everyone will just say, hey, I'm not part of this problem. And so I bet everyone will just sit quietly until someone gets hit. And when that happens, then we might get to see some kind of a change. It may start with EA and their FIFA shenanigans.
We love
FIFA. Or
it
may start with Riot Games. But the moment the first company falls, everyone will follow. And so finally, 10 years later, we might get back to just buying good old horse armor for $2.50.
$25.50, you mean? It's not going to be $2.50. Oh, man. We love video games. We love video games. They're so great. Hey, at least there are positive things happening. Now, whether they would ever be implemented outside the EU, you know, probably not. It would be a malicious compliance thing. It's like we implement it in the EU and nowhere else. Anyway, I think that's going to be it for today. I'm going to head out and grab some food. And then tomorrow, we are probably finishing Ender Magnolia. I'm not certain, but that sounds about right to me. Ugh. Anyway, yeah, raid? Who are we gonna raid? Who's live?